Hello, hello. So excited to kick off our month on social media. We're talking social media all month long, and I know it's a topic that y'all love to hear about, but is also a topic that sometimes is overwhelming. What platform, how often should we be posting? What should we be posting? All of the things. And so in today's episode, I'm going to be walking you through how to create your schedule. So whether you're on one platform or five platforms, you know what you're posting, and it can make it easier for you to batch that content that you need to create in order to publish and get things out consistently, because consistency is the name of the game. That was a mouthful. It is critical on social media platforms that you show up regularly. And remember that we want to show up with value add. It's not about always asking people for the sale or the donation. We want to make sure we're showing up, providing value, sharing impact, engaging, and building community. Being social on social. That's really what we want to try to do so that we can build deeper connections, take those connections offline, take them to email, whatever it might be, so that we can further engage with the audience that we're talking to, get them to convert. Remember, a conversion on social media might look very different. It might be that our goal is to get more conversations, not necessarily to get more donations. We're building relationships, we're building partnerships, we're looking for opportunities for collaboration, and we're highlighting the people that are lifting our organization up. We're lifting them up alongside us. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to give you the strategy that I use to kind of map out my social media so that it's easy for me to kind of figure out what I'm going to post on the days that I want to post and use multiple different types of content to create it, like static posts or videos, all of the things. So if you're listening to this while you're in the car, if you're listening to this on a walk, totally fine, but you might want to come back when you can listen to it at your desk with a pen and paper so that you can actually work through this in real time. But regardless, we're going to help you build out your social media plan so you know what types of content you need to be creating. Okay? But before we get into it, if you want one-on-one support, this episode is brought to you by our digital marketing therapy sessions. These 30-minute sessions are one-on-one with me, and we can sit down and talk through some of the things we're going to go through in this episode. You can bring the plan that you've created. We can flush it out. We can add certain things. We can brainstorm. We can do whatever you need in this 30-minute one-on-one session. So head on over to thefirstclick.net/office hours so you can book your time with me one-on-one so we can really finalize your social media strategy. Or if you have other things you want to talk about, from content to website, email marketing, I got your back. I'm here for you. But for now, let's get into the episode. You're listening to the Digital Marketing Therapy Podcast. I'm your host, Sammy Bedell-Mulhern. Each month, we dive deep into a digital marketing or fundraising strategy that you can implement in your organization. Each week, you'll hear from guest experts, nonprofits, and myself on best practices, tips, and resources to help you raise more money online and reach your organizational goals. Okay, so let's jump into how to create your social media publishing calendar. This is something that I love. It has saved me so much because there's nothing worse than sitting down at the computer and being like, I need to post to social media. I have no idea what to talk about. And we're going to start off assuming that you're in just an awareness stage. We're in between events. We don't have any major promotions going on right now. We want to just build that core calendar first. So it doesn't matter what platforms you're on. We're just going to start by creating the core categories that we want to talk about. So usually 3 to 5 categories that are important to your organization. And these are all value add. So it could be a tip Tuesday. I do a website Wednesday. Maybe it is a highlight of a sponsor or volunteer that you want to do regularly. Things that you want to shout out all the time. Maybe it's like a pet adoption graphic that you want to share, whatever it might be. So what are the things that you know you want to talk about on a regular basis? And just put those categories down. We do like a product feature. We do like I said, a website Wednesday, which is a tip, or a tip Tuesday, just depending on the platform. We usually like to include some personal posts in our stuff so that people are getting to know us and the team. So just really think about who you are, what your goals are for your organization, and then what kind of big bucket categories you want to be sharing. Impact stories, donor highlights, staff highlights, a day in the life of somebody on your team. Super fun stuff, and you can break it down into uh, a bunch of different things. So you want to have at least 3 to 5, especially, depending on how often you're posting. If you're posting 7 days a week, then maybe you need to have a little bit more, but let's have 3 to 5 categories, and you're gonna just write those down. Make that list, have that list somewhere. Okay. Then once you have those categories, you kind of know what content you need to create. So now when you sit down to plan out your social media, it's not just, oh, okay, I have no idea what to post. It's okay, I need to create 3 adoption stories this month. So I'm going to go out and grab 3 graphics, and I'm going to write 3 pieces of content. And you can just put all that together. You know exactly what you need to create. And so when you batch it, it makes it so much easier. You're not sitting at your desk thinking, okay, what is it that I'm supposed to be creating? So you have your buckets. That's great. That's your big picture strategy. So when it comes to actually creating your calendar for social media, there's a couple different ways that you can do this. When I'm just getting started, I like to think about it in 2-week chunks, because you're testing, you're seeing what's kind of working, you're figuring it out. And things are just kind of nimble. We got to kind of figure things out as we go. So to do a whole month feels overwhelming. As you get really good at it, you might say, okay, well, we're going to just go ahead and do a whole month's worth of planning, have it all done, ready to go. Then you can either publish it live or use a scheduling tool, whatever you like. Speaking of scheduling tools, I'm most active on Facebook on LinkedIn and Facebook, but I also post to Instagram. I use Meta's business platform for my scheduling for Facebook and Instagram. I schedule directly into the LinkedIn app. You can use whatever platform you want, but just know that there are free native options within those platforms that you're using. So sometimes different forms of content, like you can't schedule reels on Instagram, for example, but just play with it and see what works for you. So now we're going to build out our actual calendar for the 2 weeks. And there's a couple things that I like to do. And again, we'll talk about the promotional side of things here in a second. What I like to do is really figure out my template for posting. I have a Google Sheet that I've created, and it lists on the left side Monday through Sunday. And across the top, it has the platform. So I can look at, I know on Tuesday on Facebook, this is the core category that I'm posting. And it doesn't mean that it's hard and fast set in stone. There's always things that are going to kind of change that up, but I like to kind of place things where I want them to go. So, for example, on Monday, I might have a behind the scenes photo that goes on Facebook, but that same post is going to go on Thursday on Instagram. I rarely post the exact same content on all the platforms at the same time or on the same day, because I want to kind of space them out to increase the chance that people are seeing my content at different times on different platforms when they're most active on that platform. And usually, if you're on Facebook, you're checking your Instagram or you're checking your LinkedIn all at the same time, right? So I like to kind of spread it out so it's not happening at the same time. And since I'm a visual person, that Google Sheet helps. And I'll try to remember to link that up here in the show notes so you can take a look at what that is, because I also have multiple brands that I'm posting for. So I have the First Click brand, I have the Nonprofit Bootcamp, I also have Easy Style with Sammy, which is my fun lifestyle blog and podcast, and I have personal LinkedIn and personal Facebook. So I can share that spreadsheet so you can see kind of what it looks like. But then I know very quickly these are the days that I'm posting this particular type of content. Makes it super easy for me to just kind of dive in and create it. Then when it comes to actually crafting my 2 weeks of posts, I try to do that in ClickUp, or I'll do it directly into the scheduler if I want to, if I'm feeling up for it. And what that looks like is sitting down and first starting with a couple of things. So I will look at, I love like the days of the week calendars. I think they're fun. There's always new holidays that are happening, like Blueberry Pie Day and I don't cashew day, whatever. Every day seems to have like 10 or 20 different holidays. Months seem to be themed as well, but these are a fun way to be social and have some more fun on social media and help fill in your content calendar. So, what I do when I'm actually crafting content is first go to a social calendar, and I'll link some of those up in the show notes as well. And I like to just kind of see what's coming up in the next couple of weeks that's relevant to me, my brand, my personality, what we do, right? So, for example, if you're a pet adoption agency, you're probably not going to get real heavy during Breast Cancer Awareness Month, right? While it's a great cause and there's a lot of visibility around that, it's not necessarily in alignment with the work that you do. So, you want to make sure that things are in alignment or that there is a connection to your organization in some way, shape, or form. So, if it's National Popsicle Day and you run an after school program, what a great way to share great images of your kiddos at your facility having popsicles, maybe even shouting out a sponsor that provided those for you. It's fantastic. And it doesn't even have to be a just in time photo. It could be, a photo you took last year or a photo you took last week when you had all the popsicles there. It doesn't have to necessarily be something that happens on that day, but that you have a reason to shout it out and have a conversation and engage in the conversation around that. National Taco Day and Guacamole Day, those happen to be a couple of my favorites. And I try to be proactive so I can make sure that I'm putting that content out there. So I start by saying, okay, what are some fun days that I can pop into my calendar? You might only want to do one or two. Don't overdo it here. But I put those in so I know that those posts are happening on those days. I can create content around it. Then I fill it in with the categories that we created, the 3 to 5 categories. I can kind of disperse them out. And then you can start to really visually see where you have holes, where you're missing things, where you might need to have some additional things created. So I love to do it either in a calendar view in ClickUp, where I can see the different platforms and where everything is being posted. You could do it in a Google Doc. You could do it in Google Calendar, whatever makes sense for you. Totally is going to make your life easier to be able to visually see where things are happening. Then if you're full, you're full. Great. Like no worries, you're done. And you can just start writing captions and getting the graphics that you need for that. Now, when it comes to writing copy for your social posts, I have been doing a combination of sometimes it's super easy, it flows off the cuff. I can just write my own content. Sometimes I need a little inspiration, and I have been loving ChatGPT for helping me write social media posts. Again, make sure that you are editing, adding your own personality to it, putting in the specifics for your organization. But a prompt could look something like, write me a social media post with emojis in a conversational, like a quirky way that will encourage people to adopt kittens that are good with kids. So very specific, it will pop something out, and then you can use that as your inspiration, right? So that's a great way to kind of get things started, and then you can massage it from there. But sometimes the post will come easy, and sometimes you'll need a little bit of help, and that's a-okay. No worries there. So then you have your posts already. You can get them approved. You can have somebody else take a look at them, make sure the grammar and everything is good. You know how to have them all scheduled across all the platforms that you have. You're good and you're ready to go. So that's like really down and dirty how I kind of schedule and organize my general social media posts. Now, the other thing, like I always like to make sure that I'm doing is, especially if you're in a bigger team or a larger organization, is either at your weekly team meeting or having it in your weekly calendar, reaching out to people to say, okay, what do we need a little extra push on? So let's say you have a bunch more kittens that came in versus what you normally have available for adoption. Or let's say enrollment for your summer camp is a little bit less than what you're looking for or normally at this time. And so you really need to do an extra push there. Or ticket sales for an event or a silent auction, whatever it might be. checking in with those members on your team to say, okay, where else do we need to be highlighting right now or talking more about? The social is a great place to add that extra plug, and they're great posts to just add into your calendar. So asking your executive director or your development director or your programs director, whomever are kind of those key elements, and just say, is there something else that you're needing to push right now that we can get out there? Are there new friend raisers that are happening that may have popped up that you're not aware of? All of these things can be awesome. So you can add those in to your calendar. And here's the beautiful thing. Because you've already populated a couple weeks of content that is general content, value add, engaging with your audience, if you need to fill that slot with something else, don't just post twice in that day, for example. You can just move that post to the next week or the next week, because you know that these standard posts that you've created are not time sensitive. So now you've just freed up that spot and freed up. Now you don't have to create that content in one of the following weeks. So that's a great kind of way to think about those content pieces when they come in. Still plan out your 2 weeks, then have the conversation with your team if there's anything specific that needs to highlight, and you can always drag and drop and move things around, which is why I love my ClickUp calendar. So at some point, once I get it refined, I will have to share that with you if any of you are ClickUp users, and how we kind of create that content to have it available to see. Okay, so now let's talk about what happens when we're in a promotional period, because we know that people need to see messages about 17-ish times before they make a buying decision. So we do need to talk about anything that we're promoting in events often. And we don't want to confuse people with too many things. So it might be that there's a week or two where you're talking all about your golf tournament, or you're talking all about your gala. And so thinking about how that plays into your social media, again, you just put a pause on your standard calendar, right? Doesn't mean that you need to double up and start posting twice. Put a pause on that social calendar to focus on the promotional side of things. And you know what? It's going to be okay, because you spent so much time in the nurture phase, in the brand awareness phase, in the providing value phase. You haven't been asking, you haven't been pitching people to give, you've just been highlighting and building community. Now, when you go into this promotional phase, it's going to be okay. And people are going to be excited to kind of see a way that they can engage with you further. So at that time, you're going to want to change up your post to be specific to what it is that you're promoting, while still making sure you're providing value. So what might that look like? It might look like a post about your event, but sharing the impact story of how those funds are being raised. So the top part of the post is talking about the kids that you serve, the environmental cause that you're working towards. Like, what are the funds going to support? And then asking for people to buy the ticket or to share or whatnot. It's not necessarily that people are going to sign up because of the social posts, but they might engage and get excited and interact with you because they're hearing all of the amazing ways that by them participating in this event is going to support your organization. Okay. And then there's lots of ways that you can also still connect by shouting out your sponsors, but sharing why it's important for them to give. So asking your sponsors for more information about their relationship with you and why it's so important, and including that, making the sponsor the hero. So you're sharing about your event without having to be, asking all the time. So even when you're in a promotional period, still think about ways that you can make it about the reader, about the person who's engaging with you on social, and not just about donate, buy, give, silent auction, right? We want to make sure we're building all of that into the package, and so that we're building the community. So this should make it super easy for you to create your social media calendar. Remember to start with those core categories, build out any social holidays that might make sense, create those posts, batch those posts, get them scheduled, and get consistent on social media. Now, these are all static posts that I'm talking about. When it comes to creating stories or any of the videos that you need, remember you can batch those as well and have them ready to go. Make sure that you are aligning your stories and your reels with the kind of core themes that you're putting into place for the rest of your platform. Have fun with it. We have an episode coming up in a few weeks that will really share a little bit more about TikTok and Instagram and videos specifically. But I think you understand the concept. Get out there, get consistent, and get scheduling. If you found this helpful, make sure that you are subscribing wherever you listen to this episode. I will make sure to link up additional resources and other episodes where we've talked about some of these elements in the show notes at thefirstclick.net/215. But I really appreciate you listening and taking your social media to the next level. Let's get consistent. Let's get after it. And let's not stress about what it is that we should be posting right now, because we already know that we've got it in the bag. So I hope this quick episode was helpful for you. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you in the next one.